The cultural explosion of the 50s in places like Sophiatown in Johannesburg and District 6 in Cape Town was brutally repressed by the architect of separate development, Hendrik Verwoerd. The people's organizations were banned and their leaders jailed. As sung by popular folk singer Quentin Klopjager in his song Lazy Life, the 60s was a decade of comfort and privilege for most white South Africans at the expense of black people. But was it truly the end of resistance? No. For me and those of my generation, the dawn of the 70s was the beginning of a new era when music got soul and together with politics became the embodiment of resistance. Let me take you on a journey into the heart of 70s Township Soul, where you'll meet some of the all-time greats who helped to make music what it is today. The Flaming Souls, the Beaters, the Teenage Lovers, the Movers, the Uncles, the Question Marks, the Cape Town Posy of Richard John Smith, Lionel Peterson and child star Jonathan Butler. Come meet the Afro, the Bell Bottom and the 9-Inch Heel, the Dub Shah, the Brentwood and the Flusham. Come take a trip with me through music in the midst of desolation. While some artists escaped incarceration, others, like Rex Rabanye, suffered detention, but emerged with greater conviction.
And I coined the name that when we go out, one day, we'll continue to sing, and the name will be Teenage Lovers, because we were the favorites because of singing.
We had guys like the Teenage Lovers, which was a surprise because this was one hit band and it came from Potchefstroom, you know. And those Botswana folks were mean dudes, but hulle het droog uitgestroom daar uit, dis hulle was warm.
We admired the Beatles that time because the Beatles had come up with very great songs of the time.
Most local soul musicians looked to their brothers and sisters in America, like Aretha Franklin, Isaac Hayes, Stevie Wonder and Otis Redding, who transmitted hope for the broken-spirited. Some local entertainers went even further and adopted American accents.
Hi, this is yours truly, Cockatoo Bull sitting down, totally major, magnificent Montague facing the east and not the west. Right on.
So, Tako, could you tell us about this Township Soul movement, which started with the Flaming Souls and the Beaters, late 60s? I mean, what was the scene like going into the 70s?
Yeah, in fact, that's a type of music that took South Africa by storm. Because most of us, in fact, like jazz, you know, soul music, we used to listen to a lot of soul music from Americans. And we played hard, you know, that we to show the world that what Americans can do, we could even do better in South Africa. We had guitarists, soul guitarists that could play exactly the same as them. Like you're talking about the Flaming Souls. And we had Philip Malela, you know, who was doing the James Brown, and everybody called him the South African James Brown.
The Flaming Souls from Alexander, led by Philip Malela, burned a path from the late 60s into the 70s. One of their enduring hits was She's Gone.
There was a gradual explosion as blacks found that they had to express themselves culturally, which is why we started seeing the emergence of so-called soul music evolving from copied material from America to indigenous lyrical melodies that reflected the social scenario in South Africa. One remembers groups such as the Flaming Souls, the Beaters, which subsequently became Harari.
The Beaters, led by Selbin Tuli, emerged from Soweto in the late 60s. They beat their way onto the soul scene with their track Mamsi's Hips. It sounded a wake-up call, even for those who came before them.
Well, the first group that started was the Flaming Souls, and then we joined the Flaming Souls immediately after that started. I think it was during the time of the, American soul music taking over. Now we saw this band that really looked like Americans. They had all the double-breasted jackets and their Afro hairstyles. Wow, we're envious of it.
This is the Flaming Souls.
The Flaming Souls.
Let's just talk about the early days, let's say the early 70s.
We were more popular in that we were a high school band, so we were able to draw from all the high schools, and audiences that would identify with us. We would play with the Souls, we would play with the All-Rounders, we would play with the In-Laws, and the next thing, all these bands would be playing together to be like who's who, and we all had our dancers.
Oh yeah, on stage.
On stage.
Yeah.
To be called the monkey jivers.
The monkey jivers.
And we used to do those monkey jives and all that, all that stuff.
So where did you play?
Welcome to the DOCC in Orlando. This is a fantastic lineup for you, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you're going to enjoy it. This is a great show, and have a good night.
People were actually out there to support black products, as it were. In fact, they're beginning to take charge of their self-pride and self-dignity, which is why most of the time, any musician at that stage who wanted to latch on to the sentiments of black consciousness had to go into soul music.
Despite the grinding reality of life under apartheid, love, music, film and fashion continued to find expression in the townships.
Well, here we are at the Majestic Cinema.
I've just passed Avalon and Lyric. These are the cinemas that accommodated black cinema goers in the 70s. So you could see, say, Enter the Dragon or Valdez is Coming like 7 times. And I don't remember how many times I had to come here and see the same film. And buy our food at Solis just before we get into the movie. But, because of apartheid, black people were not allowed to have restaurants. So we could never actually eat in a restaurant. So we'd just sit at the pavement here and have our meal with our dates, well dressed for that matter. Either it's very hot or it's raining or very cold. Quite uncomfortable, but we survived all that, and our aim really was to come and have a good time.
White South Africa had little